أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Ayah number 23. وراودته التي هو في بيتها عن نفسه. And she, in whose house he was, sought to seduce him. We see that life is full of challenges. It's full of tests. One test after the other. One challenge after the other. We see that Yusuf a.s., when he was brought out of the well, he was taken out of the well, brought to the house of the Aziz of Egypt as a slave. But when the Aziz said, treat him well, what do we think? That alhamdulillah, problems have been solved. It's a new beginning, a good beginning. But what seems to be a very good beginning is actually what? A test. And if you look at it, the previous problems seem to be over. The problem of slavery, of being shunned by his brothers, of being treated unjustly by his brothers. We look at that as a happy ending. But from that happy ending begins a very ugly start. And what is that? Another very difficult test. And what is that? That the woman whose house he was living in, meaning the wife of the Aziz, she tried to seduce him. We learned in the previous ayah that Yusuf a.s. stayed over there until he reached his full manhood. وَلَمَّا بَلَغَ أَشُدَّهُ. And the age of Ashud is between 30 and 40. So when he reached that age, when he was a man, when he had become an adult, then this woman tried to seduce him. The word راودته is from the root letters ra, waw, dal, from the word rada, yarudu, which literally means to go and come back, to keep coming and going repeatedly. إِذَا جَاءَ وَذَهَبَ. To go and come back again and again. So from this, the word is used for walking about, coming and going, in search of something. Just imagine you're looking for something. You've lost your bag. You can't find it in the house. What are you going to do? Go from the room to the closet, to the living room, to the kitchen, right? Upstairs, downstairs, one room, the other room, the car, maybe back in the house, because you're looking for something that has been lost. And sometimes you keep going and coming to the place many, many times, repeatedly. So it is to come and go in search of something repeatedly, but in particular in a very gentle and soft manner. Generally what happens when we're looking for something, we become very hasty, right? And we rush back and forth, running, yelling, screaming, where is it, where is that, bumping into things. But this is to go and come back very gently, in a very soft manner. So in other words, very seductively. Very seductively. It is said, ruwayd fi sayr, meaning to walk gently and slowly, to travel very slowly, at a very slow pace. And primarily this word is used for going about in search of something. But sometimes it is also used for going about without any purpose. Without any purpose, without any goal, any aim. Like for example, sometimes you go to the mall and you see people who are just walking. Just walking from one aisle to the other, from one floor to the other, from one store to the other. Are they really buying something? No. Sometimes you see they're not even carrying a purse. They're not even carrying a bag. They're walking alone or perhaps with another person. They're not there to buy anything. They're just window shopping. They're not searching for anything. They're just going back and forth. Similarly, sometimes if there's a conference and there's a bazaar, there are people who are just hanging out in the conference. And what are they doing? Going from one part of the bazaar to the other. They're not attending any of the lectures. What are they doing instead? Just walking about in the bazaar. This is what rada yarudu is. To walk about with a purpose or aimlessly. But slowly. Why slowly? Why slowly? Because there's no urgency. You don't have a lecture to attend. You don't have to go home. You don't have a limited time over there. You have a lot of time. You can do whatever you want. And the word that we see over here is rawada. Rawada. It's not rada. What is it? Rawada. Rawadatu. And this word, it conveys two meanings to us. First of all, it shows mubalagha. excessiveness in road, excessiveness in coming and going, trying to seduce someone, seductively walking back and forth. This shows excessiveness in this action. And secondly, it also shows ikhtilaf. What is ikhtilaf? Difference. That one is trying to seduce and the other is resisting. One is trying to seduce and the other is resisting. So this woman, she was constantly trying to seduce Yusuf a.s., seductively walking past him again and again, going in front of him, going back. Constantly she was doing that. But on the part of Yusuf a.s., there was constant resistance. You understand? She is coming again and again, but he is constantly resisting, repeatedly resisting. So she tried to seduce him repeatedly, in different ways, in various attempts, because she had fallen in love with him. And this woman was allati, the one who, huwa, he was, meaning Yusuf a.s. was, fi baytiha, in her house. And she tried to seduce him an nafsihi, from himself. What does it mean by this, from himself? Meaning against himself. From his firm intention and resolve to remain chaste. Yusuf a.s. was a believer. And he was going to remain chaste. But she tried to seduce him. And what did she do? وَغَلَّقَتْ, and she closed, she shut, al-abwaba, all the doors. غَلَّقَتْ is from the root letters غَين, لام, قاف. غَلَّقَ, يُغَلِّقُ, تَغْلِيق. And تَغْلِيق is to lock up, to close, to shut. And it is to shut, to lock up something firmly. And the structure of the word غَلَّقَ, يُغَلِّقُ, تَغْلِيق, it gives the meaning of gradually, meaning one after the other. And it also gives the meaning of firmly and strongly. So one door after the other she closed, and she didn't just close the doors, she actually locked them so that no one could come in. And abwab is a plural of bab. It is said that she locked 7 doors. 7 doors. So it seems as though they used to live in a mansion, in a big house. Perhaps there were many rooms. So she perhaps locked the main door and the upstairs door, Allahu A'lam, one door after the other, until she had locked 7 doors to ensure that no one could come in and he would not be able to escape. وَغَلَّقَتِ الْأَبْوَابِ, and no one else was there. It was just him and her. She locked everyone out. And she seduced him to the point that she locked herself and him up in a closed room. وَقَالَتْ, and she said, هَيْتَ لَكَ, come, hear you. Meaning she openly called him for zina. Very seductively. She called him for zina. Very openly. وَقَالَتْ هَيْتَ لَكَ. The word هَيْتَ لَكَ is actually an ism fi'l, and it gives the meaning of an amr, of an imperative, a command. And it gives the meaning of, hurry, come on. So she openly invited him. Secondly, it is also said that the word hayta is pronounced as hi'tu lak, or huyi'tu lak. And then it's from the root letters ha, ya, hamza, from the word hay'a, which is to prepare something. So hi'tu lak or huyi'tu lak, meaning I am prepared for you, I am ready for you, come. This is an open invitation of zina. Qala, he said, what did Yusuf a.s. say? Ma'ad Allah, I seek refuge of Allah. Qala ma'ad Allah, I seek refuge of Allah. If you notice, the word ma'ad is actually a noun, and it means to seek refuge. He does not say a'udhu billah. What does he say? Ma'ad Allah. Because when a person uses a main noun instead of a verb, what does it show? Mubalagha. It shows excessiveness, intensity in what he's demanding, in what he's requesting. So ma'ad Allah, that he was seeking refuge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala immediately. He does not say, I trust myself, I can handle this on my own. No. What does he do? He seeks the protection of Allah immediately. And he says, Innahu Rabbi, indeed he is my Lord. Who is my Lord? This has been understood in 2 ways. That first of all, innahu, he refers to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That may Allah protect me, Allah forbid, may Allah save me. He is my Lord, He is my Rabb, He is my Master, He is my Creator, He is my owner. And He has ahsana, He has made good maswaya, my place of stay. Maswa, again, we have done this word earlier. Sawawiya. He has made my stay very good. How can I be disobedient in return? Allah has been so good to me, so generous to me. How can I be disobedient to Him in return? He has made my home so good, my abode, my residence so good. How can I do something that is haram? إِنَّهُ لَا يُفْلِحُ الظَّالِمُونَ. The wrongdoers, they can never be successful. Secondly, this has been understood as that إِنَّهُ رَبِّي. Rabbi over here refers to my master. And over here he is referring to who? The Aziz of Misr. Because the word Rabb is also used for who? Master. Remember, one of the meanings of the word Rabb is owner, Sayyid, master. So he is my master, meaning your husband is my master, and he has been so generous to me, he has been so good to me. How can he betray him? How can I betray him? How can I be unfair to him by cheating him on his wife? This is very improper. إِنَّهُ لَا يُفْلِحُ الظَّالِمُونَ. The wrongdoers, they can never be successful. Who are the zalimun over here? First of all, the adulterers, people who commit adultery. Because a person who commits adultery, he is someone who is very unjust. Because first of all, it is disobedience. And secondly, it is also khiyana. It is also cheating someone, treachery. Like for example, if a woman is married and a person does zina with her, then who is he cheating? Her husband. If a woman is unmarried and a person does zina with her, then who is he cheating? Her family, her parents. Secondly, al-zalimun has also been understood as those people who recompense the good that others do to them. How? With bad. That my master has been so good to me. How can I do zulm towards him? How can I? It's not right. So what do we learn in this ayah? First of all, we learn, as we discussed earlier, that every blessing comes with a test. Every blessing comes with a test. There is no blessing which is free of tests. Anything that you get, whether it is money, or a spouse, or a child, anything and everything, it will come with difficulties. Which is why whenever you buy something, it tells you care instructions. Whenever you buy something big, you have to have insurance. You have to have some kind of warranty, some kind of repair system. Who you're supposed to call, 24-hour call service. You can just call them and ask them what's going on with your appliance or the machine, and they will help you fix it. So every blessing of this life comes with a problem. Yusuf a.s. was given a very good house to live in. He was not treated over there as a slave. But still, there was a difficulty over there. Secondly, we also learned that life is not free from tests. Never free from tests. Yusuf a.s. came out of one difficulty, into another difficulty, into another difficulty. Then we also learned from this ayah about the importance of haya for women. Even those women who are older. Because if you look at it, there must have been a big age difference between who? This woman and Yusuf a.s. When Yusuf a.s. was brought to the house, what did the Aziz say to his wife? Maybe we will adopt him as a son. Can you imagine the age difference between the two? Yusuf a.s. grew up in that house and he reached his manhood in that house. So you can imagine this woman must have been old. She wasn't in her 20s, very young and very restless. No. Nor in her 30s. No. She was older. But still she developed love for who? Yusuf a.s. What does this show to us? That a person, even in older age, what are they required to do? Lower their gaze. Lower their gaze. They should not look directly at who? People who are non-mahram. People who are not directly related to them. Similarly for older women, even for them, wearing the proper hijab, it is necessary. Because if they don't keep themselves chaste, if they don't lower their gaze, then what can that lead to? A lot of fitna, a lot of problem. Generally, we think that it's the men who can develop this kind of behavior towards women. But we see something completely different over here. An older woman is developing love for who? A younger man. Because the matter of the heart is sometimes beyond the control of a person. Isn't it so? It's beyond your control. So this shows to us that we must lower our gaze, we must keep ourselves controlled, despite the age, despite who we're dealing with, even if they're 20 years younger than us, even if they're 10 years younger than us, even then this is necessary. Because sometimes we see that, especially in our cultures, older women, sometimes they think that younger men, they're like their children. And which is why they don't even realize they give them a big hug and sometimes a big kiss without realizing that although there's a 20-year gap between me and him, still he's a non-mahram. Still he's a non-mahram. So what does this show to us? That a woman can also develop love for a man who is younger than her, which is why she should also lower her gaze. This lowering the gaze is not just for men, it's also for women. We also learn from this that a person, he should avoid places of fitna. Meaning, a person should not be alone in a place where there are people of the opposite gender. He should not be alone over there, where there are people of the opposite gender. He should not mix with them freely. A person should not talk to the other laughingly and casually. There should be some professionalism, some seriousness, some kind of distance. Because the more relaxed you become, the more casual you become, the more haya leaves. And when there is no haya, then what happens? A person does whatever that he wishes. The Prophet ﷺ said that whenever a man is alone with a woman, then the devil makes a third. Now this does not mean that anytime a man and woman are alone, they're definitely doing something wrong and you should become suspicious. No, this is not what the meaning is. What does this mean? That it's quite possible that they will incline to something that is wrong. Because the heart is beyond your control. And if shaitan is in your company, then you don't know what might happen. You really don't know. So a person should avoid places of fitna. Yusuf a.s. happened to be alone with who? With who? With that woman. It wasn't his fault. She is the one who locked up all the doors. And he was a slave after all. What could he do? He could not say to her, why are you locking up? No, it's not his choice. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, in Surah Al-Isra, ayah number 32, that وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا, and do not approach zina, because إِنَّهُ كَانَ فَاحِشَةً وَسَاءَ سَبِيلًا. It is ever an immorality, and it's also a very evil way. It's a very evil way of fulfilling your desire. So, in our deen, all the things that lead to zina, even they are forbidden. Anything that leads to zina, anything that leads to haram, even that is forbidden. Which is why we see that even for older women, even if there is a lot of age difference, still proper hijab must be observed. Still, there should be a kind of professionalism in the interaction that takes place between non-mahram, between people who are unrelated. We also learn from this ayah that when a person is in a situation of fitna, where another is trying to tempt him or her, what is the solution? In seeking the protection of Allah. We see over here that Yusuf a.s., he does not discuss the problem with her. He does not try to make her understand. He does not argue. What does he do? May Allah protect me. And in the next ayah we see that he ran away from there. He ran away in order to escape. Sometimes what happens with people, especially younger people, that for example a woman is going to school or she's doing some work with a non-mahram man and she feels uncomfortable with the way that he speaks to her, with the way that he approaches her, with the way that he looks at her. And sometimes we think that the solution isn't talking to the other person, discussing the situation with them. Please, you shouldn't do this, or maybe you should look for that which is halal. This is not the way. When you're in such a situation, talking is not going to get you anywhere. Before you convince them, it's possible that you'll end up doing something wrong. So what's the solution? In leaving. getting out of it, seeking the protection of Allah immediately. Then we also learn a very important thing from this ayah about the importance of fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when no one is watching. When all the doors are locked, when something is password protected, no one else can access, what is needed? The fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because when a person has that fear, only then he can abstain from committing wrong. Yusuf a.s. says, Ma'ad Allah. He remembers Allah over there. He fears Allah in that situation. We also learned something very important, that Yusuf a.s. he acknowledged the favor of his master. Didn't he? He says, my master has been so good to me. Or my Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has been so good to me. How can I be treacherous? How can I be disobedient? So we see that Yusuf a.s. he acknowledges the favors of others upon him. He acknowledges those favors. And this is a quality of who? Of a muhsin. Of one who does good. Of one who does ihsan. Another very important lesson that we learn from this ayah is that a zani, a person who commits zina, he can never ever be successful. Because we learn, إِنَّهُ لَا يُفْلِحُ الظَّالِمُونَ. A person may enjoy some sexual enjoyment for the time being, but in the long run, he will not be successful. At the end, he will be broken-hearted. He will be guilty. Or he will feel that he has been used. She will feel that she has been used. She has been deserted. Perhaps there will be some disease, some infection. It happens. And especially who suffers most? Women in these situations. So zina is zulm on oneself, and a person who commits this act, he can never be successful. Also, one more important thing, that the sign of successful people is that they do not do zulm on other people. إِنَّهُ لَا يُفْلِحُ الظَّالِمُونَ. So what does it show to us? That a person who is successful, he does not do zulm. He is not unjust towards others. وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ. And certainly she had intended, she had determined to seduce him. Hammat is from the root letters ha, mim, mim, from the word ham, which is to resolve, to have a firm resolve in the heart. To be determined to do something. It is basically to make an intention, to think about it, to think as to how a person is going to carry it out, how a person is going to do something. So وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ. She firmly intended to seduce him. She was fully determined to commit zina with him. وَهَمَّ بِهَا. And he had also intended, he would also have inclined to her. لَوْلَا, if not, on that, رَأَى, he saw, بُرْهَانَ رَبِّهِ, the clear proof of his Lord. She had decided, and he would also have agreed, if he did not see the burhan of his Lord. Now what does this mean by burhan? The word burhan is from the root letters ba-ra-ha, bariha, which literally means to be clear, to be radiant. And from this, the word burhan is used for a radiant proof, a clear proof. Just imagine an evidence that is bright. If something that is bright, can you ignore it? Can you ignore it? Just imagine, bright light. Can you ignore it? No. Can you deny it? No. It's in your face. It attracts your attention. You cannot forget about it. You cannot be oblivious towards it. So burhan is an evidence, not something that is tangible necessarily, an evidence that cannot be ignored, that cannot be denied. So he saw the burhan of his Lord, and because of that, he did not incline towards her. What is this burhan? This has been understood in various ways. Some have said that Yaqub a.s. was made to appear before him. He saw an image of Yaqub a.s. Others have said that he saw some angel before him. But there is no solid evidence behind that. What we see, what we find out, is that burhan is something, some kind of evidence, like for example, a reminder that this is a wrong action. This is something not right. Or for example, burhan could refer to the favors of Aziz, which made him realize that he should not do such a thing. At that point, he realized that he should not commit such an action. It was by some reminder, this realization that this is a wrong action, this is something haram. He remembered that zina is unlawful. So because he saw the burhan, what happened? He did not intend to commit that action with her. If you look at the word lawla, وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا لَوْلَا أَرَّأَ بُرْهَانَ رَبِّهِ. This has been understood in two ways. First of all, it has been said that وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا. You pause over there. The sentence completes over here. The first way of understanding this ayah is that she firmly intended and he also firmly intended. Both had intended. Because for a man to be in this situation where a woman has been constantly seducing him over a period of time, and now she shuts all the doors and openly she says, Hayta lak, then imagine for any man it is going to be natural to make such a decision, to fall into that situation. So he had also intended. But, لَوْلَا أَرَّأَ بُرْهَانَ رَبِّهِ, if he had not seen the burhan of his Lord, he would have committed. But because he saw the burhan, he did not commit. Do you understand? Because he saw the burhan, he did not commit. Secondly, others have said that no, it cannot be imagined that a prophet of Allah would even intend to commit such an action. So we have to understand this text in another way. And what is that? That وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ. Pause. And then وَهَمَّ بِهَا لَوْلَا أَرَّأَ بُرْهَانَ رَبِّهِ. And he would also have intended if he had not seen the burhan of his Lord. So in other words, because he saw the burhan, he did not even make the intention. كَذَلِكَ, likewise. What does likewise refer to? That just as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed him the burhan, and he intended not to commit that evil action with her, لِنَصْرِفَ عَنْهُ, so that we turn away from him as-su, the evil, wal-fahsha, and the indecency. What does su refer to? The evil action? Khiyana, treachery, deceit. Khiyana towards who? His master. And fahsha, indecency, what does that refer to? Zina. إِنَّهُ, indeed he, min ibadina, from our servants. He was mukhlasin, he was of those who were chosen. And because he was of those who were chosen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved him. What do we learn from this? We see that the wife of Aziz, she developed love for Yusuf alayhi salam. And she fell in love with him. Why? Because of his good looks. He was extremely handsome. Extremely handsome. And it is also said that the Aziz, because of the position that he had in that country, he was a finance minister. As I mentioned to you earlier, he did not have any children of his own. And it is also said that he would not even approach his wife. He would not even approach his wife. Why? Perhaps he was very busy. Perhaps he didn't have any interest in family life. He was just concerned with his work. This is according to some tafseer, which you find in various books, that he did not even approach his wife. So we see that when the haqq is not given, then what happens? A person tries to fulfill his desires through incorrect ways. So for example, if there are parents and their daughter or their son is young, and they say they want to get married, and they don't get them married deliberately, and they fear for their chastity, and if something wrong happens, then whose fault is it? It is their fault, but at the same time, it's also the fault of who? The parents. Because they should give them the right that they deserve. If legally they are allowed to get married, then they should cooperate with them. They should assist them, especially if they want to save themselves from haram. Unfortunately, our focus becomes, no, they should develop a career. Yes, that's extremely important. Very, very important. Because if a person is married, has a family, and has no means to support them, and cannot even understand how to deal with his wife or her husband, then what's the objective of marriage? That is also essential. But at the same time, it is also important to give the haqq. So we see that because she was deprived of this haqq, she tried fulfilling that how? Through incorrect ways. Then we also learn from this that the women they are a very big fitna for who? For men. Because we see that this woman, she constantly tries to seduce him, to the point that she locks up all the doors and she calls him. Now for any man to be in this situation, if he makes the intention even to do something wrong, this is only natural. Which is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَهَمَّ بِهَا, and he also intended. He also intended. The Prophet ﷺ said that I did not leave behind me a test that is more tempting to men than women. A very difficult test for men. Now this does not mean that women are inherently evil. What does it mean? That men just love women. And because of that reason, what should they do? What should women do? They should try to protect themselves. They should try to guard their chastity and also remain modest. And remember that Yusuf a.s., he made the intention according to one opinion. According to the other opinion, he didn't even make that intention. Now, if a person makes the intention to do something wrong, is he blameworthy? Is he blameworthy? As long as he does not follow it by action. This is a special gift upon who? Upon the Muslim Ummah. We learned that the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that if my slave intends to perform a good deed, then record it for him as one good deed. And if he performs it, then record it for him as multiplied 10 times. And if he intends to commit an evil action but does not commit it, and if he left it for my sake, then record it for him as one good deed. But if he commits it, then write it as one evil deed. So what do we learn? That if a person only makes the intention, but he does not do it deliberately, not by chance he doesn't get the opportunity, what is it that deliberately he leaves it, then that is also a means of reward. Then we also see in this ayah that it is a huge blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When at the moment of opportunity to sin, commit something that is evil, commit something that is immoral, a person remembers that he should not be doing it. It's a big gift of Allah. It's a big favor of Allah. When at that very moment a person realizes, a person remembers that he should not be doing it. For example, a person is talking, a woman is talking to her friend. And all of a sudden they start talking about someone else in a negative way. And she remembers, this is ghibah. And immediately she stops. This is what? A big gift of Allah. It's a big blessing of Allah. Because sometimes what happens with people? They don't even remember. They don't even realize. They only realize after committing that action. But it's too late by then. So over here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed him the burhan. He showed him the evidence that reminded him that he should not be committing such an action. And this is a huge gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How does a person become deserving of this gift? That he gets the reminder at the right time. How does a person become deserving of this gift? When a person constantly remembers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, we learned it from the hadith that Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said that one day I was behind the Prophet ﷺ and he said to me, "O young man, I shall teach you some words of advice. Be mindful of Allah and Allah will protect you." Be mindful of Allah and Allah will protect you. If you remain conscious most of the time, as much as is within your ability, then at times when you're overcome by emotion, at times when you're put in a very difficult situation, Allah will protect you. Be mindful of Allah and you will find Him before you. Remember Him and you will find Him before you. So what do we learn? That in order to become deserving of this gift, that right at the moment of doing something wrong, at the opportunity to sin, we remember we should not be doing this. What do we need to do? We need to remember Allah the rest of the time. And when a person remembers Allah the rest of the time, then what happens? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saves him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects him. We also learn in this ayah that there is absolutely no justification for committing something that is wrong, committing something that is sinful. If you look at it, Yusuf a.s., He does not say over here, well, it's not my fault. I didn't start it. I didn't initiate this. I never tried to seduce her. I always resisted. I didn't close the doors. I have been put in this situation. And if I've been put in this situation, that means I should be allowed to do it. He doesn't say anything like that. He realizes this is something wrong and he seeks the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And imagine, he is a slave. He does not have any choice. And she has done a lot of favors to him. Because she is who? The wife of his master. She has been told by the husband that she should provide him a very good residence. Now imagine how awkward it must have been for Yusuf a.s. to refuse at that moment. But still he refuses. Because there is no justification for doing something wrong. He does not say, oh, I'm forced. Definitely he was being forced. But he does not fall over there. He remembers that this is something wrong, this is not right, and he does not do it.